sufficient staff for the new family court judges, yes, we do.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Next, Mr. Graf, Assemblyman Graf.
Hi, Judge. How are you?
Good morning.
Now, you have one program where at arraignments, everyone gets assigned an attorney, right? And even if the person's making $200,000, $300,000, or no matter what he makes, right, they get assigned an attorney at arraignment. How much is that costing us?
People making $200,000, $300,000 a year are getting attorneys at arraignments. I can't tell you that that's never happened, but I can honestly say I don't believe that's a major problem in,
Well, that's
in the
what's
court
happening.
system.
Suffolk County, they have assigned attorneys, okay, that sit in the courtroom. And if somebody doesn't have an attorney, and it doesn't matter what they make, for arraignment, they're getting an attorney.
Yeah, I think that the attorneys staff the arraignment parts in places like Suffolk County. And, you know, the courts are under a very strict mandate from the Court of Appeals that people have to be arraigned within 24 hours of their arrest. So if someone is arrested, is brought by the police to the courthouse, is brought to the courtroom to be arraigned, and there's a lawyer assigned to that arraignment part, yes, that could happen, that somebody who otherwise could afford a lawyer would have the services of that lawyer for the very brief arraignment proceeding, but would
Well,
not receive a free lawyer for the pendency of the case.
If I can, Judge. You have legal aid assigned to the courtroom, but there are income requirements, all right? So anyone that doesn't meet the income requirement in Suffolk County, right, who cannot be assigned legal aid is being assigned almost like an 18B attorney, all right? Even if they're making $200,000 a year, if they're being arraigned. That money, and I'm looking, could be better used, all right, to staff court personnel. Because let me explain what's happening. It takes me in Suffolk County and District Court up to 3.5 years to get a hearing. I just did a trial on a misdemeanor. It took me 5 years to get a jury trial. And what's happening is we've come to a point where we've cut the court staff so much in an attempt to save money that it's actually costing us money. So what's happening in Suffolk County, and I don't know about the rest of the state because that's mainly where I practice, is if somebody has to be taken into custody, the entire courtroom shuts down. That slows down the entire process, right, and leads to court congestion. There are times where they have to bring a person from custody up to the courtroom. That takes forever because they have limited personnel to bring that person to the courtroom. There have been times in Suffolk County where you have an individual who's in custody and it's so hard to get that person into the courtroom that where there would have been a disposition in the case and that person would have been released that day, they wind up getting adjourned for 2 weeks, so they spend more time in custody. So what I'm saying to you, and I'm just looking at all the things that you've been forced to do because of budget constraints. And I'm saying we need more money for court officers. We need more money for court clerks. Because we're at a crisis point where the safety of the personnel in the courtroom are in jeopardy. The safety of the people appearing in the court is now in jeopardy because of lack of court officers. The courtrooms are not functioning properly because of the lack of personnel. And I mean, you have gotten creative, and I'm not blaming the judges, I'm not blaming the administration, I'm blaming us for not looking at the problems here and identifying these problems and making sure that we're not stepping over a dollar to pick up a dime, which is what I think we're doing here. You've seen the slowdowns in the courtroom. You watch the calendars. So I mean, do you agree with the fact that we've gotten to the point where it's actually costing us money because it's slowing down the process?
Yeah, no, I think there are delays in cases throughout the court system. But I have to tell you, if it's taking 5 years to get a misdemeanor trial in Suffolk County, that is absolutely unconscionable. And I can promise you I will look into that today, this afternoon, because that's unconscionable.
And Judge, half the other problem, if you want to relieve the congestion, is the 30-30 statute doesn't exist in New York State. Okay? Because all we get is, it's always court time. It's always court time. That's nonsense. They're denying clients' rights to a speedy trial. And I look at the appellate, decisions, and never is there a decision on 30-30 for the most part.
Yeah,
So
the
it's like
30-30 is, I agree with you, it's a misnomer. It's never been an effective speedy trial statute. It is not effective in moving cases to trial. I agree with you completely on that.
Well, year after year, I keep saying that we have to do something with this. It's nonsense when I sit there, and I've been in front of judges, and I'm ready for trial. I'm ready for a hearing. And the judge goes, well, we can't do a trial today. I said, well, send me to another courtroom, okay? And I get court time. And then if I do an appeal, it's never decided on 30-30. So basically, we're ignoring the Constitution in the state of New York, and that's causing court congestion. So, I mean, I have a lot of problems with what's going on in our courtrooms, especially with the staffing requirements, all right? And I do think that we're stepping over a dollar to pick up a dime here. And by not funding, especially correctional officers and clerks and everything else, right, it's actually costing us money. The last thing is the recording devices that we have for transcripts. It's not the same as a person that is actually taking it down, a court reporter. Because when we get that back, there's nothing but errors and everything else and the time period. So I would say, we need to fund court personnel, because if you really want to save money, we need to hire more court personnel.
Okay, I agree with you.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Senator Dan Squadron.
Thank you very much.